One of the best ways to determine whether a sentence is complete is to ask yourself 3 questions. Is there a verb? Is there a subject? And can the statement stand on its own? The answer to each question should be yes. If we don't have a verb, a statement is definitely a fragment. And if we don't have a subject, it's also a fragment. We'll deal with this last question in a future video, but for now, let's look at a few sample statements together and decide whether they meet the first 2 criteria. How about this first statement? Sandra is fun. Do we have a verb? Hopefully you haven't forgotten about to be verbs. Again, to be verbs include is, are, am, was, were, be, and been. They don't really seem to be verbs, but they communicate states of existence and sometimes function as helping verbs. So in this case, we're telling the reader that Sandra is fun, that she exists as being fun, that she's a very fun person. So in this statement, yes, we do have a verb. Is our verb. The next question asks, do we have a subject? I'm going to go with yes. Remember, a subject always performs a verb. And in this case, Sandra is performing the verb is. So we have Sandra for our subject. Sandra is the actor in this sentence. Okay, so this statement has a subject and it has a verb. This means that the statement meets our first 2 criteria. If we didn't have a verb, it would definitely be a fragment. And if it didn't have a subject, it would also be a fragment. But since it has both, we now have to ask this next question about standing on its own. Again, we'll talk about independent and dependent clauses in another video, but for now, I'll just let you know that this statement can stand on its own, so it is a complete sentence.
So that first example is just a simple sentence, but notice this next example. This next statement has stumped a lot of former students. Here we have, playing basketball is fun. So again, we have to ask ourselves, do we have a verb? Maybe you've identified is as our verb, and if you did, you are correct. Is our verb in this statement. However, a lot of people want to say that playing is the verb, and it is true that playing can be used as a verb, but you want to remember that most words in the English language can perform more than one part of speech. So we can use playing as a verb and say something like Sandra is playing basketball, but in this statement, we're using it as a gerund. Now, I won't ever ask you for the definition of a gerund. I do want you to recognize them, but a gerund, it's basically when you're using a verb as a noun. So you take an ing verb and you use it as a noun, and you're basically referencing the act of doing whatever. So when we say that playing basketball is fun, we mean that the act of playing basketball is fun. So just like in the first example, Sandra is fun, again we have is as our verb, and then who or what is performing that verb? Playing basketball. Actually, in this sentence, playing is our simple subject, and then playing basketball is our complete subject. And we'll go into simple subjects and complete subjects in just a bit. But again, in this sentence, is our verb, playing basketball is our subject. If you ever have trouble identifying the subject of a sentence, an easy trick you can use is to take the verb and then the rest of the sentence and turn it into a question. Your answer to that question should be the subject. For example, if we look at this statement, today is Tuesday, we can take the verb is and then the rest of the statement and ask, what is Tuesday? And according to the sentence, the answer is today. So is our verb, today is our subject. Now, this is just another simple sentence, so I'm not sure how helpful this trick is for this example, but it will be very helpful in longer sentences when you have longer, more detailed subjects. For instance, in this next statement, we have the first day of school was fabulous. So if you take that verb was and the rest of the sentence and just ask, what was fabulous? The answer is the first day of school. So the first day of school is our subject and was is our verb. The first day of school is actually our complete subject. The difference between complete subjects and simple subjects is that the simple subject is just the noun by itself. It's just that single noun. And the complete subject includes all of the details about the noun. So in a statement like Sandra is fun, we just have a simple subject. Sandra is our subject and we have no other details about her. In the statement, the first day of school is fabulous, we have this long phrase as our subject, the first day of school. And to identify the simple subject, we want to ask ourselves, which noun are we discussing? So which noun is performing the verb? In this case, we have two nouns in our complete subject. We have day and school. You want to ask yourself which one is performing that verb. Which one was fabulous? Are we saying that the school was fabulous, or are we saying that the day was fabulous? I'm going to go with the day. We're telling somebody that the first day of school was fabulous. So all of these details, it just helps us understand which day we're discussing. We're not talking about Tuesday. We're not talking about yesterday. We're talking about the first day of school. Let's just do a few more examples. In this next one, we have the day that I had to take my dog to the vet was not so fabulous. So again, if we want to determine whether it's a complete sentence, we want to ask, do we have a verb? In this case, we actually have three verbs. We have had, take, and was. So you want to ask yourself which one's functioning as the main verb. I'm going to say that had and take are part of this opening phrase. We have this word that here, and the word that is kind of allowing us to continue to describe that day. So just like in the last example, the first day of school was fabulous, all of this is just describing which day in particular, the day that I had to take my dog to the vet. So was is our main verb, and again, if you take the verb and the rest of the statement and just ask, what was not so fabulous? The answer, according to the sentence, is your complete subject, the day that I had to take my dog to the vet. The simple subject, again, it's the noun that's performing that verb. So if we look at the nouns in the sentence, we have day, dog, and vet. Which one is performing that verb? Which one was not fabulous? We're not saying that the dog wasn't fabulous. We're not saying that the vet wasn't fabulous. We're saying that that day wasn't fabulous. So in this example, was is our verb, and the day that I had to take my dog to the vet is our complete subject. Our simple subject is just day. There are advantages to recognizing both simple subjects and complete subjects. If you ever have trouble with subject-verb agreement and maybe write statements like one of the boys were late, then you really want to focus on simple subjects and remind yourself which noun is actually performing the verb in your sentences. So in that example, we have one of the boys were late. Were is our verb, and our complete subject is one of the boys. However, our simple subject, are we talking about all the boys or just one of the boys? One is a simple subject in that sentence, so that will help you remember that was is the verb that you want. You don't want to say one of the boys were late, you want to say one of the boys was late. So recognizing simple subjects will help your understanding of subject-verb agreement. Recognizing complete subjects will help your understanding of sentence structure and help you avoid making mistakes, especially in those longer sentences where you have a very long, detailed subject. A lot of students, if they have a long, complete subject, they're very tempted to put a period after it or put a comma after it, and you want to avoid both of those. You want to remember to never separate the subject from the verb. So in this next statement, for example, we have the day that my nieces and nephews threw toilet paper all over my house, yard, garage, and car is a day that I will never forget. Here we have a very long, detailed subject. Our verb is, and then if we ask, what is a day I will never forget? Our answer is the complete subject, the day that my nieces and nephews threw toilet paper all over my house, my yard, my car, and my garage. So it's a very long, detailed subject, but it's still just functioning as one noun in the sentence. You definitely don't want to put a period afterward. If you do that, you're going to end up with two fragments because neither side will be complete. And you don't want to put a comma there either. You want to remember, never separate the subject from the verb. If you put a comma there, it really is just like writing the dog, comma, cross the road. You don't want to interrupt that flow. So we do have commas in this complete subject because we do have a list here, but you don't want to put a comma afterward. You don't want to separate that complete subject from its verb.